That's the winner.
Welcome to the American Red Devils podcast. I'm John.
I'm Alex.
And we're bringing you the best Manchester United news from this side of the pond.
Ooh, sir, how we doing? It's an extra special pod this year. It is February, early February, and it's a commemorative year because it's the 65th anniversary of the Munich air disaster. Should we go to Old Trafford?
One cold and bitter Thursday in Munich, Germany. 8 great football stalwarts conceded victory. 8 men will never play again who met destruction there. The flowers of English football, the flowers of Manchester. Matt Busby's boys were flying, returning from Belgrade. This great united family are masters of their trade. The pilot of the aircraft, the skipper, Captain Thane. 3 times they tried to take off and twice turned back again. The 3rd time down the runway, disaster followed close. There was slush upon the runway and the aircraft never rose. Plowed in through the marshy ground, it broke, it overturned, and 8 of the team were killed as a blazing wreckage burned. Roger Byrne and Tommy Taylor, who were capped for England's side, and Ireland's Billy Whelan and England's Jeff Bent died. Mark Jones and Eddie Coleman and David Pegg also. They all lost their lives as it ploughed on through the snow. Big Duncan he went to with an injury to his frame. And Ireland's brave Jack Blanchflower will never play again. The great Matt Busby lay there, the father of the team. 3 long months passed by before he saw his team again. The trainer, coach and secretary and a member of the crew. Also 8 sporting journalists who with United flew. And one of them was Big Swifty, who we shall never forget. The finest English keeper that ever graced the net. Oh, England's finest football team, its record truly great. Its proud success is mocked by a cruel turn of fate. 8 men will never play again who met destruction there. The flowers of English football, the flowers of Manchester. Thank you.
Ooh, sir, it's a haunting song, emotional for every Manchester United fan. Early February, it is the 65th anniversary of the Munich air disaster on Monday. Today is the 4th of February. It is the 6th of February, the date from 1958, and a defining moment in the history of this great club. Team that was, of course, the Busby Babes. They were on their way to the third English title, coming back from Europe, and obviously that plane, as they were stopping off from Yugoslavia on their way back in Munich, never left that airport. And then the story of the build back over the next 10 years with the Holy Trinity and lifting the European Cup, and it's just a huge defining mark of this club, the resiliency and the history, and one of the reasons it's the most famous club in the world, sir.
Yeah, and obviously I get chills listening to that song, and it was a very somber time for Manchester United fans, remembering the 65th anniversary of the Munich air disaster. The true legends of this club, Matt Busby, the backbone and what he gave us, and what Sir Alex built on top of that. But, just an absolutely tragic disaster, a team on the rise. Alex, like you said, we had just beaten Red Star Belgrade in Serbia, going to another semifinals in the European Cup. We were trying to win our third Football League title in a row. We held the FA Charity Shield, and this team had everything to play for. I mean, this is a team on the rise, and an absolutely horrific disaster. Killed Jeff Bent, Roger Byrne, Eddie Coleman, Duncan Edwards, another young rising star, Mark Jones, David Pegg, Tommy Taylor, and Billy Whelan. Those were all players for Manchester United. We also lost club secretary Walter Crickmere, Tommy Curry, and Bert Whaley. So trying to come back from that, Matt Busby was in the hospital for 3 months. And he came back. Jimmy Murphy coached the club in the meantime. Jimmy Murphy, there's going to be a statue built outside Old Trafford. He is responsible for the youth development at Old Trafford, really had the vision for the youth. He was actually coaching Wales at the time, which is why he wasn't with the team, why he wasn't on the airplane. But Matt Busby coming back in the 58-59 season and then coaching United successfully to win the European Cup, the same cup competition where they were traveling, where he saw his coaches and his players perish, right? And what a story, what a rich history at Manchester United for Matt Busby to survive the crash, Bobby Charlton to then lift the European Cup 10 years later. And it's a day that defines Manchester United. And like I said, I don't think we would be the biggest club in the world, the most famous club in the world without this story. And a dark day for the club and the team all around, but one that we remember proudly, and which Manchester United and all the players wore the black armbands today against Crystal Palace at home.
And it's a somber way to start the pod, but it's an important reminder of, one of the most significant events in this club's history, a story of resilience and tragedy, but also building back a side that was even better, arguably, than ended up winning the European title, first English club to do so. And we remember them. They're a huge part of our history, sir. And it was nice as we move from, the Munich section of the pod to the game today. It was nice to give them 3 points to go out on, because this team showed a little bit more fight than we've seen in yesteryear. I was looking at the old video from the 60th anniversary of Munich, and that was a whole mishmash of crews. Ed Woodward was around. It was Jose hanging around. And now, today we hit some adversity. The Casemiro red card. We'll talk about that a little bit later. There was, the calls were all over the place in terms of the Palace game. But ultimately, I think this team showed a lot of fight, a lot of team cohesiveness and kind of fighting together for those last 20 minutes when they were holding on to the lead, even after they conceded. And it's an important win for Manchester United because Palace, they're a tricky side. They've put a thorn in our backside for a number of our last encounters. And it's a really important 3 points to pick up before we lose Casemiro for the next 3 league matches, which honestly are a bit of a step down because you look at the next 2 Leeds in a row, Leeds, and then Leicester. Those are matches you would think you could finagle it with a McFred/Sabitzel special. We're going to have to, sir.
What did you say?
Sabitzer.
It's a Bitzel, I think. But look, it's hard to transition from this for any American Red Devil who hasn't dived into Manchester United's history. Highly recommend you do. Just what it would take. I mean, what type of man Matt Busby is, and it's one of those things where you might come in to root for this team and not know the history, but the history is what is so incredible about this club. And when I look at that badge, that's what I see. It's resilience. The Phoenix rising from the ashes from Munich and going on to conquer Europe once again, like losing the Busby Babes, will never die. That's everything that Manchester United is. And it's just such an emotional time to be a fan and to understand the importance of this moment and why we remember it, why there's the clock on the side of Old Trafford. It's everything the Glazers aren't, actually. Never seen a Glazer at one of these ceremonies, and that's something that tells you everything you need to know about them. We're going to get them out the club. But, there is football to talk about. There is horrible refs and VAR
What about
and
that
all
ref?
this other stuff.
What
we
about
can
that
just
ref?
open the can of worms of just BS.
Oh, we got Mason
But I'm
Greenwood to
just
talk
trying-
about too. That's gonna be fun.
I'm just trying to start the pod with like some hard hitting facts
History, baby.
about why this club is the most amazing football club in the world, has been through more, has faced adversity, and has risen from the ashes and absolutely just been a juggernaut since. I mean, like, we're not someone who was given things early on. We didn't do it back in the day like the Scouts bastards. You know, we had to come and take it. And, you know, at the end of the day, we stand atop with 20 league titles, stand proud, and hopefully we're close to getting another one. So this is a big deal. And just got to say, you know, Manchester United, what a club.
We'll never die, sir. You said it right. And it's something that I think, you know, we have a lot of American listeners. We're Americans. Got into the team last 15, 17 years. And you get in the team, you start watching them, go to see games, see them win silverware. But I think truly once we started this pod and then really started diving into the deep history of this club, is you appreciate how special it is. How special it is. Newton Heath, building Old Trafford, taking half of Man City's players at the turn of the century, winning our first 2 league titles, winning the FA Cup final. You know, club goes through rocky periods. Busby comes in, rebuilds the club. Obviously, the tragedy in Munich. He rebuilds it again, brings in Law, brings in Best, and pairs it with Charlton, and they go on, like you said, to conquer Europe. And and we had another rocky period in the 70s, and then back to the top under Sir Alex Ferguson, which was, you know, poisoned a little bit in the chalice around the Glazers, because as soon as they came in, they started poisoning the well. But like you said, this should hopefully be the last Munich, the last February 6th when they're still around, even though they're posturing they're not going to leave, or they're going to leave dead on the club. Like, that's possible. But either way, one day closer to hopefully them leaving the club. And you've seen that through the history of this great club, is that, like, ups and downs. We've had good owners, we've had bad owners, and for as good as some of the owners have been, some of the owners have been bad. And the Glazers are the latter, and they'll be out soon enough. But hey, how about 3 points? How about fighting from some adversity and getting the win today? Because that's the most important thing. It's going to suck to lose Casemiro, but you mentioned in the hot take, sir, is like he's going to be fresh for those Barca games, and he's going to be fresh for that EFL Cup final. And I like the mentality when Shaw was asked about it. He's like, someone else is going to have to step up now. And there is that. There's a little bit more of like, well, who's going to take that? Who's going to grab the bull by the horn with the opportunity to, obviously no one's taking Casemiro's spot, but fill in for him for the next 3 matches in the league, sir. It's a big opportunity for Sabitzer to step up.
No, absolutely, sir. And a quick PSA for the podcast. If you like the American Red Devils, we are for fans by fans. You want to support the Bias, Muppet Take, and independent fan content, please check out our Patreon page. We do a behind-the-scenes episode every single month, so you're getting more content. There's tons of other benefits. You can support us for as low as $1 a month on Patreon. Again, no sponsors on the pod. Patreon.com/American Red Devils. Check out our website, americadevils.com. Great blog content. Alex has written a few articles up there recently. Also, check out americadevils.store. We do have our 65th anniversary commemorative Munich air disaster scarves. Will never die in bold letters on the back. Everything that Manchester United is. Sir, tell them about iTunes reviews.
iTunes reviews or 5-star reviews of the American Devils podcast, wherever you listen. It's a great way to support the pod. Helps us get found organically. And even better, we're giving away free merch, the best kind of merch, which is Glazer Out scarves, green and gold. And all you have to do is write a 5-star review, ideally on iTunes or Spotify, and send a screenshot to AmericanRedDevils@gmail.com with your mailing address, and I'll personally pick, pack, and ship a free scarf right to your door anywhere in the world. Here's a great one from American perspective with great knowledge, 5 stars, knowledgeable, entertaining, and informative. Great to hear perspective from fellow Americans. A great pod for diehards and for those new to the team alike. Appreciate you. Appreciate everyone writing those 5-star reviews. You've been keeping me busy, sending them out over time, sir. But United, back against Palace, sir. We talked about it. It was a trap game where the title got slipped away, pulled away from our fingertips even before we got a chance to get our hands on it. Today, I'm glad we got 3 points. I'll tell you that. Could have been a draw.
I actually looked it up. So like I believe 538.com had a 4% chance of winning the title.
What before
after we drew Crystal Palace went to 1%.
Yeah.
Just like, hey, that's like
What happens now with Everton beating Arsenal, which there's some developments today.
We went from 1% to win the title to 2%.
We're back, maybe.
So you're saying there's a chance? We're almost there. But at 4%, I think you're in a title race. I'm just going to say
4%.
We're talking Manchester United 2, Crystal Palace 1, Old Trafford, Premier League. Let's get into that lineup. Dave saves world number 1 in net. Luke Shaw at left back, Martinez Varane, center back pairing, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, reliable on the right, Fred Casemiro midfield with Bruno in the hole, Rashford, Wout, and Antony on the right wing. How'd you feel about this lineup? Crystal Palace at home.
I wasn't too shocked given how our manager, Erik ten Hag, likes to proceed and always goes with strength after strength. So, the thing that I didn't like to see when I woke up, sir, was that there's no Tony Martial anywhere in the squad, which means that Tony Martial is once again hurt, which is not great. And then, Sancho for Anthony, he's probably too soon to start. That back four, good to see, like Martinez and Varane next to each other, Shaw back in. Not a ton of surprises. What do you think when you saw it, sir?
Like I said, Wout's undroppable. Tony Martial is who we thought he was at the beginning of the season. He's a player who went to Sevilla and scored a goal. So that's about right. He did well in preseason, sir. Everyone hyping him up in preseason. Still waiting for that comeback. Let's get into that first half. United come out in control, but not super sharp in possession. And in the 5th minute, sometimes it goes your way. Penalty to Manchester United. Bruno on the spot.
Long VAR call. I fast-forwarded it because it was atrociously long. But handball, we finally got one. The VAR checked it. Will Hughes, it was above his waist. It was obvious. And VAR got it right, at least in this half of football. Here we go. Bruno Fernandes in the 7th minute.
An early nerve settler, perhaps. It certainly is. From a Manchester United point of view, the perfect start. They are in the groove at the moment, and the feel-good factor continues at Old Trafford, just 6 minutes in. Yeah, it's a difficult skill.
Bruno taking pens. I was a little shocked to see that with Rashford on the field, and Rashford the man in form. But hey, little luck goes our way. I don't think we've gotten all the calls this year. We've gotten some calls, but we've had a poor run of form since that big City call. Getting an early penalty against a team like Palace that are tough to break down. That's how you love to start a game, and Bruno getting another goal.
Great goal. What a gift. We'll take it. That's with some hustles coming out, starting strong at home, get a penalty. How can you lose? 13th minute, Wout puts in a good header in the top right corner, but it's palmed away. And 37th minute, another good layoff from Wout for Fred, but he blasts it wide. Fred, he's not quite Eriksen from a fishing perspective.
He's not quite Eriksen.
But he had the back heel, and then he just over the bar, that's like a classic Fred. 43rd minute, Dave saves big as United are exposed at the end of the half. So 1-0, VAR gods, they smiled on us. They gave us a goal. How are you feeling after that first half?
I thought United looked a little complacent. They got the goal, you get the easy pen, right? It's a handball. You're not even going down in the box. And we didn't create as much. There was the half chance with Weg. He actually put a good ball in the net, but the goalie saved it. And I wanted to see more impetus from United, and that's not what we saw in the second half. It was if anything, we gave Palace the opportunity to grow into the game, gain confidence, run at United, take us on. And I don't know is that fatigue or is that just lack of focus, but there seemed to be a drop-off in the second half, sir.
We've seen this movie before. 1-0 against Crystal Palace, and we don't finish them when we can. I was surprised because the second half we came out really sluggish. Palace were right in for it. They were getting forward. We were turning it over in our own half. It wasn't a good look. And in the 59th minute, look, Erik ten Hag can do nothing wrong from a sub perspective. He puts on Garnacho for Wout. I don't think it was Wout's best game. Again, I think we're really struggling at number 9. If we had a few more opportunities, I think you would see a huge difference. That's why everyone's dying for Tony Martial up top. But why do we need to worry about number 9 when we have our number 10 in the 62nd minute?
Red hot Marcus.
Casemiro, Garnacho, Luke Shaw, and in for Rashford, and in for Manchester United. There's no stopping him at the moment. Game after game, goal after goal. Marcus Rashford, Manchester United's headline act in front of goal.
What kind of form is he in? Marcus Rashford going from strength to strength. And also just a nice all-around team goal. Like, everybody involved, AWB to Bruno to Casemiro to Fred to Garnacho to Luke Shaw with a nice ball in. And then Marcus slams it home. Another goal for him. The go-ahead goal. We talked about it as we were kind of letting Palace back into the second half, sirs. Like, they need a second goal because you know what? Palace are going to score one, as they did. But good goal from Marcus and good team goal all around. You love to see it.
And Rashford playing number 9?
Number 9.
Don't mind that if I do. 68th minute. This is where all the controversy lies. Casemiro gets a red card after Anthony gets bumped out of bounds, like hip check.
Dirty foul.
We like to call a brouhaha here on the podcast. It was a brouhaha.
It was.
IU on Fred, but United, showing fight, protecting their teammate, getting his back. Again, this is like the 2023 version of getting your teammates back. This is the 2023 version of red cards, where it's like back in the day, people used to throw leg breakers at you and they actually had to go back at them. Now it's like somebody hip checks you. You got a Brazilian who goes down, and then everyone thinks that those are fighting terms. And then obviously VAR thinks touching someone's throat is a red card as well. So I think everything's just gotten softer in the game, since we started watching 20 years ago. But this is what it is. It's a brouhaha, and VAR decides to zoom in, slow it down. Yeah, his hands around his throat. Not a good look. Probably a red card in 2023. For me, it's miles off of what a red card is. The ref didn't call anything. I don't think it's clear and obvious. I think that is the definition of VAR intervention. They didn't. Then you have to view everything, and obviously IU has his hands on Fred. It's just it's stupid they even made the call. Are they wrong to make the call? No. Are they wrong to not give everyone red cards in that situation? Probably, because if you touch somebody in the wrong way, like we saw Martial on Lamella a season ago, or 2 seasons ago at this point, people just go down, you touch their face, and you get a red card, and I don't know. It doesn't matter how hard you touch them or anything like that. So
that's
crazy.
Good take, sir. It's like Anthony got fouled, out of bounds, a dangerous play. The guy stood over him trying to start shit. Then it popped off. And like you said, it looks terrible in 2-second increments, zoomed in. But if you watch the video in real time, he's grabbing the shirt of his neck, right by his neck. It looks damning. And at the same time, Jordan Ayew pushes his hand right into the throat of Fred. So
at the same time,
if you're going to red card Casemiro,
he was in the right spot at the same time.
He's throttling him. He's throttling with his shirt. But if you're going to red card Casemiro, you should also red card Jordan Ayew. There were some awful calls in this game, even though we actually got a penalty call, which I was shocked to see. Sabritza's turnover in the late part of the game where they called it a foul when Rashford would have had a one-on-one with the goalie. That was also outrageous. 7 minutes of fucking stoppage time with that went to 8.5 minutes.
Let's isolate it. We're talking Casemiro.
I know. I'm just talking about, but this is a microcosm of how poor the game was officiated and how poor the officiating is in the EPL in general because of the lack of consistency in the game. That's it.
Let's take that and put it in a box, and let's talk about the Casemiro red card now. We saw Tony Martial do something similar to Lamella, where he touched his face, and then Lamella went down. No, it was Xhaka. Lamella. They both look the same.
I thought it was Lamella. No, Lamella on Spurs, wasn't it?
It was either Lamella or Xhaka. Hard to remember. Both those guys I don't like. Yeah, but either way, Martial touched his face and he went down, and it was a straight red, and we lost 6-2.
Yeah.
That it just seems if you touch someone's face, you're done. And the throat, Casemiro just being I'm not choking you, but I got my hands around your neck. It's I get it. It does but you can't do that. You can't do that. So players should know, and it is stupid he gets sent off for that because he used to actually Andy Carroll doesn't get a red card.
I know.
I know.
He didn't even get yellow.
Somebody actually injured a player and doesn't get a red, and then you have Casemiro kind of just just saying hi to his throat.
It was quick, bro. It was quick.
If you watch just the video, saying hi,
Just saying hi to his throat. What's a punch?
Just saying hi to his. I don't know how you say hi to the throat, but that's as close as you can get. I'm not going to say he choked him, but it was close. If he wanted to, he was literally. right there.
It was a choking distance.
It just didn't look good.
It didn't look good.
Like, if you have one hand on
the slowdown is
no
bad,
red card
bro.
if it's one hand. No red card if it's one hand. Two hands though. He's got like.
We're gonna miss him. We're gonna miss him.
But like, here's the thing. It's like that's a really big call. It like takes our best player away, and the fact that like I have no problem with giving red cards for stuff like that. Just say, hey, you can't touch somebody like that. Fine. But then IU has to go. So then VAR has to stop the game for 15 minutes, and they got to look at every slow motion replay of the whole scrum, and then they have to card everyone appropriately, and they didn't do that. So that's why the whole like conspiracy, it's true. It's like if you want to go down this rabbit hole, you're gonna have to look at every single person and every action they did, because it's like such a micro, like just having his arms around his neck. You're right. He was trying to hold his jersey, then his arms went around his neck for like a half a second in slow motion, and he gets a straight red, and that could really impact our season. Is just, this is not what VAR or replay should be about.
Yeah.
Like everyone got it. There was no one went, if he put his arms around his neck and the player went down, like that's
close
more of a
like if you
straight
too
red.
close on them,
like,
you know.
This is as dumb as I've seen it.
Yeah.
This is as dumb as I've seen it. And this is the English Premier League. It's the number one league in the world. And this is pretty stupid that they're giving a red for this. You know, it's really insane. And the game's getting too soft for me. It's getting too soft. It's like red. I remember what a red card was. A red card was you're trying to studs up, put a mark on somebody. And that's what a red card was. And the red card has become like this diver's delight. You get touched in.
He didn't even dive. Will Hughes didn't even
go down.
Will Hughes,
but you know what I mean, like the lamellas of the world, with like you get touched in the face and you go down, and
that
it's
was
like
bad.
this whole thing. It's like
people are not soft.
We used to kick the hell out of divers and turn them into real players in England, and now we're like the divers have taken over. It's like become a diver league. Like I think Man City, the rise of shitty,
watch City
and the
play,
tactical foul, and the slowing the game down, and all of this diving. And they let it come in, and they've literally made it. It's like we become like I don't want to say we. Like I'm not
we as the EPL.
23andMe, you know, 60% English, but at the end of the day, I don't own a part of the English Premier League. But it's just the league has become more like Spain, and it should have stayed more physical. It's like people want to see that. People want to see like top athletes in the world going toe to toe. They want physicality in football. Football ain't no diving, tactical foul like Pep Guardiola snooze fest. It's like should be about power, athleticism, push people around, like be physical. That's what it should be. That's always English football. And I this is just to me like a nightmare situation, nightmare call, horrible ref.
Hey, but back against the wall, Manchester United, a team has to show what they're worth, and it looked nervy after they closed it down to a 1-goal lead.
De Gea had to make it, like, obviously, so now we're down to 10 men. De Gea, big save. They were knocking on the door. They were going to get at least one 76-minute.
Into the mix it goes again. Doucouré hits it. Where's it going? It's going in! Crystal Palace have a way back in.
You have to say a nice goal, nice finish from Schlupp. But United a little passive. They were kind of just like still getting their feet underneath them after we lost.
You can't do anything about that. That was
it's a great finish, bro. The ball comes across the box. It's hard to defend, and he just like puts a heel on it. Nice goal. United back against the walls, but this is where you see what a team is all about, what it's made for. So it's the Munich Air Disaster Memorial Day at Old Trafford, sir. Down to 10 men. We're not dropping another point. Newcastle, they dropped points today. Arsenal lost today. Liverpool lost today. Opportunity for United today.
80th minute, Palace go just wide. United holding on, clawing on. 81st minute, Sabitzer for Anthony coming on his debut. Very excited to see him in red. And then 87th minute double sub, Magoo and Lindelof for Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Garnacho. I thought that was prudent for the manager. And then stoppage time came 7 minutes. You got to be joking.
8.5, bro. 8.5. They called 7, which is preposterous.
I know. It's just like at this point in the game,
the Sabitzer call really bothered me. He had a nice tackle. They would have been on the break. It would have basically been a 2-on-1, and they called it free kick for Palace, and it was preposterous.
Whatever.
But that is just tantamount to how poor the officiating was.
the officiating in England has never been worse.
It's true.
And look, here's the deal: 3 points.
Yeah.
3 points. That's all you got to worry about. Just 3 freaking points, and we needed those points big time. You look at the rest of the table, people bleeding out. 3 points this season is worth a lot. And you look at the bottlers, Arteta losing to Everton.
Everton, baby, we're back.
Can't get more excited than this. 2% chance? Are you kidding me? The fact that Arsenal are going to bottle it. They are going to bottle it. City's going to win. They're going to bottle it. And if we had more players and the Glazer scum weren't selling, we would have a serious run here. You have to think of how many games we played. We play more games than any other team. We literally have a thinner squad than anyone else. Look at Arsenal and even Chelsea. Look how many players
Chelsea, how many players they have.
I know they're drowning, but they have so many bodies. We don't have enough bodies. And Ten Hag is doing amazing, and this is a huge win, huge 3 points. We got to be really buzzed about this. Even though we lost Casemiro for those 3 games, it's rough, but it's not like that Arsenal match where we're playing the best team without our best player. It's we can get by, but we needed these 3 points, and we got them. If we drew, it would have been horrible. So, let's get into the stats. United, 14 shots to Crystal Palace's 10, 5 shots on target to United, 3 for Crystal Palace, 54% of the ball. For United, clearly going down to 10 men affected the stats here. And Manchester United, despite going down to 10 men, have won their last 13 home games in all comps. Their longest run to Old Trafford since a run of 20. Unbeaten at home from December 2010 to September 2011. I don't need to tell you who the gaffer was during that period of time.
Good.
And Casemiro's dismissal was the first straight red card he's been shown while playing for a club within the big 5 European leagues. Casemiro's not a straight red card guy.
Never.
And that probably wasn't a straight red card foul without a conspiracy against Manchester United. But what do we know, sir? Let's check in with the bald master, Erik ten Hag.
So let's start. We played a good game. And
say congratulations on
I know, Simon, you did. But I think we played a brilliant game. It was a really high level first 70 minutes till that incident take place. And then you see this team stands for each other. There's such a good spirit in the team, and they don't accept when a player from us can be badly injured, and that is the way Anthony got treated. And then this team sticks together, but of course you have to control your emotions. But it's really difficult in such a moment. And then I see 2 teams fighting each other. I see 2 teams where several players crossing the line, and then one player is picked out and gets sent off, and for me that's not right.
Is it, from what you said about Anthony, is it fair to say that you think action should have been taken over that tackle if you think he could have been badly injured?
The player from Crystal Palace takes a big risk by this fall, that he get badly injured by pushing him across the line, and the pitch is here, and then everyone is reacting. Crystal Palace players and Man United players, and not only Casemiro.
Did you think?
Sir, it's all about the incident as expected. Erik ten Hag, he's not an excuse maker. He calls it like he sees it, and he sees it like we see it, sir. He's like, there's an incident, 2 teams were fighting, and some reason one player got singled out, who happens to be our best player, and obviously he put his hand near the neck of Will Hughes, but it was a scrap, and it was started by the Palace side being dirty, so it's unfortunate. It's not going to be one that we can overturn because the whole league hates Manchester United. That means we're back, baby. It's always been the case. Hated, adored, never ignored. And I'm trying to find, excuse factory. You call it excuse factory. You can call it trying to be glass half full. But I like it. He'll be fresh for both Barca games and the EFL Cup because it's not like he's going to have games to not play in. A week from Thursday, we'll listen to that Hans and Franz. Bro, you ready for that? It's coming back. You're on mute.
Yeah. Why do you got to remind me about that?
It's coming, baby. It's coming.
Hans and Franz has been a nice break.
Hasn't it?
It's been a nice break from the Eastern European techno music. All right, let's get into it. We got a next match. We're never done at Manchester United. We have a game every 3 days, every 4 days here. This Manchester United versus Leeds scum. Don't like them. Not nice. Old Trafford. We're playing at home first, then we're playing them midweek, the next weekend away at the Shitbox. It's Wednesday, February 8th, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, Lifetime versus Leeds. Ooh, it's tighter than you would think. 49-1, drawn 36, lost 26. First time we ever played them, we drew in 1923. Last 5, we've won 4, drawn 1. We've won by big amounts, 6-2, 5-1. Gotten the best of them. Obviously, they were kind of down under Bielsa, and they didn't like to defend at all. Something tells me Jesse March and the U.S. midfield might be a little more pragmatic against Manchester United this season.
Like I said, they're having a bit of an American resurgence. They have Adams, Aronson, and then they just picked up McKennie. And they have a solid midfield, sir. And obviously, I thought we had the clear midfield advantage with Casemiro on the side. It's going to be tighter with a Fred, Sabitzer, Bruno combo. But they're a kind of team, that you should be able to get at. United now firmly in third place with Newcastle dropping points. We're on 42, Arsenal on 50, City on 45, Newcastle behind us at 40, Spurs, Brighton, Brentford, Fulham. And then you get the Chelsea and Liverpool, 9th and 10th, which is incredible. Leeds in 17th. They're right above the drop. They're right above Everton, who was at 18th. And we've got to be getting results. Big opportunity, but at the same time, you got to start Wout, basically, because Martial's, I don't know where Martial is. He's injured. He missed today. And you'd love to be able to switch that up because I thought, what's his name? Marcus Rashford looked pretty good up front.
No, absolutely. They've been all over the place coming in. They drew Cardiff in the FA Cup. They lost to Aston Villa. They beat up Cardiff in the third round replay 5-2. They drew Brentford. They beat Accrington Stanley 3-1 in the FA Cup fourth round proper. They play Nottingham Forest tomorrow, so that will be an interesting result. But they're not playing well, but, a rivalry coming to Old Trafford always steps up their game, and obviously this is a huge footballing rivalry known as the Roses rivalry. Sir, the issue here is basically Lancashire and Yorkshire don't like each other. They haven't liked each other since the original War of the Roses in May 1455. One of the bloodiest battles, a civil war between the House of Lancaster and the House of York. House of York being the White Rose, which is Leeds, and the House of Lancaster being the Red Rose, which obviously Manchester United wear red and Leeds wears white. So steeped in history here, teams don't like each other. In the 1970s, when hooliganism was at its peak, we're talking fighting around the world hooligans, British football hooliganism, United and Leeds were at each other's throats. So steeped in some medieval British history, these two areas don't like each other. But the funniest thing about everything here is Lancashire and Yorkshire counties might not like each other, but the Lancashire-Yorkshire Railway is where Newton Heath was founded, which became Manchester United. So kind of comes full circle.
Full circle, bringing it all the way back. It's an old school rivalry, like you said. They were out of the EPL for a while. They're back. They've yo-yo, Bielsa ball. Like you said, they would just attack with no defense. And now they have the American Marsh. And, they're a beatable side, but they're going to be compact, well-organized, high work rates there. They're not playing in 4 cup competitions. And we're going to have an opportunity to get to know them, right, because we're playing twice in 2 game weeks. So Big test for Fred the Red. He's got to step up.
Yeah, Marsh plays the 4-2-3-1. Not a surprise. You got Tyler Adams and Roca in midfield. Aronson on the wing. He's dangerous. And Rodrigo up top. The issue for Manchester United is going to be Sabitzer coming into the midfield like cold turkey, having to do a job. He's more attack-minded. And then you got the liability, Fred, trying to shore everything up. So I think Fred with Casemiro, it's all right. We've seen better parts of Fred when he can get forward a little more. But the fact that Fred's got to do Casemiro's job, that is the main concern, because Sabitzer didn't come in to do that job. He came to do more of the Eriksen role, run the midfield. Yeah. So watch out for that liability in the middle of the park. But you know what? We got Martinez and Varane in behind. So I would say at the end of the day, 2 world-class center backs can bail you out in any Fred situation. Knock on wood.
And then, there's also whispers that Erik ten Hag, the madman, might be switching it up and trying to play a center back as a CDM. Lindelof, he discussed, he played as a 6 at Benfica. Also, Lisandro Martinez, he could do a job. What a great performance he had today.
Lindelof should be CDM. I said that a long time
because Fred does look better going more forward. No, totally. He's a good passer of the ball.
Like, we need someone to play there. Like, he plays a pass as a center back. I feel like his decision making is a little off. I think if he played CDM, he'd be much more comfortable. That's totally an option.
Like a daily
I would really like to see that.
Like a Daily Blind mold. He's not as good of a tackler, but he can pass the ball well and just kind of pull the strings. But we'll see what the manager does, sir. A lot of matches coming thick and fast, and the squad is a little bit thin.
If I see Lindelof in the midfield in the score sheet, I'm going to be like blown away.
I'm not calling that. I'm not calling that.
You're going to see Zabitzer and Fred in there. Unfortunately, we're going to see how that Fred has to do the job. How many times have we seen him? Like every time we're like, "Hey, Fred, you got to do it." 50 million. Like, we need you to do this job. We need you to really run a game here. These are the games that Fred should be able to do and deal with.
Yeah.
And we're talking about re-upping, giving him another deal. If he can't handle
Leeds,
a poor Leeds side, unfortunately, I don't think he can. But that's just like where I've been burned in the past. But let's get into injuries here. Donny van de Beek out for the season. Eriksson out till April. Casemiro's got 3-match ban. McTominay goes down as well as Anthony Martial. Tough to see these injuries, and the fact Martial got injured again is horrific because he barely featured. Given those injuries, what's your lineup?
I got Day saves the net. Who else? Same back 4 as today. AWB, Varane, Martinez, Shaw, Fred, Sabitzer, Bruno, Rashford up front, Anthony on the right, and Sancho on the left. What do you got, sir?
I got Day saves in net. Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Martinez, Shaw, Fred, Zabitzer, Bruno. I'm going to say Garnacho, Rashford at 9, and Antony on the right. I think you got to get Garnacho some minutes starting because he's absolutely electric.
He certainly is. What a player he is, and apparently getting closer to re-signing the thing, getting a new contract. Let's hope.
Booking the bookies, what do you got?
United the favorites, minus 210 at home against Leeds Scum, plus 360 for the draw, and plus 550, almost 6 times your money if you go the whites. What do you got, sir, given those the odds?
I think it's going to be like a 2-1 again. Nervy. This is going to be nervy without Casemiro. We're going to really be like, Eriksson, Casemiro, you guys were the real deal, and now we're going to really appreciate them over these next 3 games. So I'm concerned.
Yeah, it should be a tight match. 3-2. I think it's a close one. Goes end to end. Manchester United march on. A lot of games coming up in February.
United in the news.
You want to open? You want to open with this one, sir? Not to laugh, but
look,
it's just
here's the deal.
It's not a fun thing to talk about.
Yeah, look, as far as the topics we want to discuss on this podcast, this is not one of them. Mason Greenwood criminal proceedings discontinued against Mason Greenwood. Crown prosecution apparently dropped the charges. They had charged him. It was going to court. Apparently, the Athletic got an interview, and they added some more color around a key witness. Backed out from the prosecution, so they dropped the charges. I mean, absolutely insanity here. We've all seen the horrific images and audio with Mason Greenwood, so he's damaged goods. So it's like, don't touch him with the 10-foot ball. United is better than this. Move on. See you later. In my opinion, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, this just complicates things. It's because we've all, like you said, the video's damning, the audio's damning, even without charges. And at this point, this actually makes it harder for Manchester United because if he did get charged, then you have grounds to cancel his contract. Now you can't do that. He's damaged goods on a PR level. Also, the club has so much good going for him with this new manager, Erik ten Hag, what he's building the club, his level of discipline, that you don't want to mess with it now. And also just, we live in the world of public opinion. You're kind of damned by what everyone else thinks about it. You can't bring Mason Greenwood back into this Manchester United side. There's a money argument that the Glazers, I'm sure, will go do, is like he's an asset with value that we can try and recoup by like proving that he can still play football and then selling him elsewhere where the PR isn't that big of a deal, or just, I don't know, maybe where there's a market for it for Mason Greenwood. But for United, this is something you just don't want to touch. Like you said, it's just like,
don't even like, sir. Here's the deal. Like, look, there's no criminal charges, right? Like, got it. Listen to that audio, and like look at the image. It's like your heart says it. My heart's just like, that's disgusting. Dude, get that guy out of here. You know, no good, dude. Like you can't do that.
no,
You can't do that.
You can't have it.
You can't have that. Come on, it's not like this isn't he said she said. This is like audio evidence of like, you know, domestic abuse, assault. Like it's and this is like one of those things where the issue with the club and Manchester United is all it is a brand, right? We just talked about why we love this club so much, and it's like the brand has to have standards, and Mason Greenwood shouldn't be fit to wear the shirt after how he treated his ex-girlfriend. It's just no go. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Let him go to China, figure it out. He can try to do the recovery somewhere else, but not here, dude. Like, and at the end of the day, the club has faced with a difficult decision, like you said, 6 months. They can't move him. He's worth nothing if they don't play him. So there's only upside if they play him and he does well, then they can sell him for something. So like that's like the greedy corporate money side. And the fact that we have the Glazers running the show, it's just like, I get we need a number 9. I get he didn't get any criminal charges, but if you watch the audio and you think that that's the type of player you want at our club, then like, I don't know. I disagree.
No, it's a polarizing one, and it's just like at this point, you have so much good going with the club, and you can't soil the waters by having a personnel like that who has such an egregious thing on his record, and it's just better for everybody if like you just kind of shoo him out the back door, sir. Like, in whatever capacity that looks like, I don't think this should be seen as like a monetary thing. This is more of like a branding PR
but the
thing.
Glazers are going to view it.
Of course,
as a
no, they're going to want to try and get money out of
problem.
it. Yeah, of course, because the Glazers think only about money first and foremost.
There's no upside to Mason Greenwood. Like we have to pay the contract. You can't cancel the contract. So it's like I'm just
that's what you
worried
do,
about,
right? At this point,
look,
you just.
Here's the deal. We're gonna. This is just like ain't nobody like talking about this thing.
No.
It's just like we got to punt until the club decides what they're gonna do, and like the fact they haven't decided yet is a little tells you where they're thinking. I think.
Well, they probably didn't even see this coming. They probably had no idea it was coming. It's been the year. It's basically been a year since this all came out right at the end of last January transfer window. And they probably caught flat-footed. They probably weren't even thinking about Mason Greenwood, and all of a sudden they had this fucking situation to deal with after dealing with a lot of situations, right? The Ronaldo issue, getting some players back into form, and I think they just don't want to have to deal with it, but looks like they're going to have to. And I think it's like you buy off his contract, right? But at the end of the day, if the Glazers are going to do it, they're not. They're going to be like, you should find a market for him, figure out a way to play him the under 21s, and like ship him. I don't know, but I'm sure how they would think.
Dude, well, I like how they handle this. It's like this is just one of those situations where I'm just like, oh no, like the one last L the Glazers are going to give us here. You know,
Right.
I just feel, this is and Ten Hag, like this has like think about the decisions Ten Hag's had to make, and then he has to deal with this. Ten Hag's got to like
Insane,
the Glazers
bro.
are probably going to say like, hey man, like. We want you to play him, because we basically want to make money off of him, and how Ten Hag deals with that with ownership will just be like, I'm nervous about how they're going to deal with this. I'm just nervous for like a Ten Hag like coming out protecting Mason Greenwood type of narrative, This is just one of those things that you start a football podcast, you never think you're going to be dealing with this type of stuff. But on the other side, Raphael Varane is retiring from France. So happy about this. I mean, he was just like playing way too many games this year with the Winter World Cup. It was just absolutely insane. So I'm glad he's just going to focus at United because he's getting up there. I think doing all the international work is a young man's game. And how many games United have to play is also insane. So Like,
It's a big
I get
victory
it.
for United. Like you said, yeah, that's so good. It's such a good point. It's like, the international break and all those games, the National League and all that crap. Like that is a young man's game. Like trying to make his mark. Varane, he's won the fucking World Cup. He's OG, and this is a great win for United because, like you said, there's enough Manchester United games, let alone like all the nonsense friendlies, qualifiers, et cetera, et cetera. So he's 29. He's got a lot of years left in him, especially he doesn't have to manage the French workload. That is a huge, huge win for us.
All right, sir. Jumping into fan questions here. At Rolling in the Deep, 1995. Quote, in the last pod, John said he was on blood pressure medication. and sir, and
Sorry.
I literally had to just double the dose of it. I literally, not only am I on meds, I had to increase them because I'm stressed out about this, Steve. No, John will get his money's worth with that medication today. We were cruising, looking good, but then Casemiro's red card, and then it made things nervy. He misses the double header with Leeds and the Foxes. I mean, it's just a huge blow. At you, Bolson, VAR giveth and VAR taketh away. Andre Mariner's a catastrophe. Leacha, man of the match by a mile. But many played well today. Let's mark that Arteta's bottle factory is open for business.
Let's go. We're back, baby. That's incredible.
Let's go.
Keep it coming.
Let's
Well, you got
go.
any more? You got any more Arsenal slaying?
Arteta going down.
It's
You
the
heard
best.
it here.
It's
Like,
like-
he is
it's
going
the
down. I
sweetest.
can't. I hate City, but something about Arteta is just like that dude. I can't. I
The
can't
Everton,
get
the Everton L is great. Like first game shot on Dyche, that is amazing.
Dude, Arteta played at Everton in the later years of his career too.
I know.
At Ty Kircher, quote, happy we got that second goal when we did. Lost our heads after that dumb red card, but there was a lot of heart and determination at the end. Rashford, Martinez, and Fred all crawling at the end. 13th win in a row at Old Trafford. We worried about the next three without Casemiro. What do you think? Are we worried?
I'm sick. This year has been such a refreshing upside, better than I thought it would be. So at this point, excited to see what the new kid could do. The Austrian, he looks ready to play. He had like a brief spell today in the game. I wish he could even lean on McTominay and do the McFred combo, like lean on McFred with a Varane Martinez, maybe squeak one out. But even with him out, that's the only thing is like we're real thin. You're gonna have to do Fred, Sabitzer, and Bruno every game. Yeah,
I mean, I feel like there's a little magic back at Old Trafford.
There is. There is.
I feel like there's some magic here pulling us through.
I like that.
At Bry Guy 666, big 3 points, but man, Casemiro getting that red is such a blow. Ten Hag's been cooking though, so I have faith the boys will push on. Suck it, Palace. Like,
Suck it.
oh!
Yeah, keep it coming.
Like,
Fans the best.
The fan questions are like getting spicy. I love it. At Jamal Mota, sirs, going for the jugular, but the call felt harsh. The 4 foot 3-inch game ban is going to be. I'm reading tweets is not that easy.
I'm sorry.
Having
a good one.
The 4-inch 3 game ban is going to be rough. Rashford on form again, and we get the 3 points and get to laugh at Liverpool. Chelsea and Arsenal also drop points. Glory, Man United. No, other than the typo, I mean, good point. The fact that everyone else is dropping points shows you how important these points are, and the fact that we're getting 3 is critical. That's everything. It's the league. 3 points. Beating Crystal Palace is huge. Beating Leeds at home would be huge. Like, we're in the season where people are going to be rising and falling, and we can keep chipping away 3 points every time. It's going to go a long way.
Amen. That's what keeps this pod and these fans fed, sir, is 3 points. And today was a huge 3 points because fighting off the adversity, you concede one, and they had one other really good chance probably at the end of the game. De Gea did well, but dude, it's a huge, huge important victory in the fucking 8.5 extra time. That was the one I was like, they are really conspiring against us at this point. Incredible.
At D_Cole18, is Casemiro playing 5D chess by missing both games against Leeds and getting a full week's worth of rest for both Barca legs? Or was it just a little South American spiciness? Does Erik ten Hag heavily rotate against Leeds to rescue players for Europa League? Or does he run them into the dirt for the Carabao Cup final? What do you say?
I think we've only seen one thing, which is more fire. It's just like he only does like his best team every week. He needs to rotate more. I don't think he has that many options to rotate more. I think he could do more up front for sure, maybe less in the midfield because that's where we're really thin. but he don't rotate, bro. He plays the same team. You know, he played that same Casemiro, Eriksson, Bruno midfield every time he could, and he's been playing Anthony on the right wing over and over and over and over again. Interesting to see what happens if Sancho's actually fit and ready to go, if he could challenge him for that spot.
I mean, all this says to me is, like we've said here on the pod before, it's like Erik ten Hag is the real deal. He's real deal. He's like probably statue guy, you know?
Easy, Rod. We need to win some silverware, guy. Then we'll get a statue.
Okay, here's
he has it, bro. He's the real.
He came in with. Okay, he came into Ralph Rangnick.
I know.
Ronaldo, Harry Magoo,
Gdansk vibes. Like these guys like lost the Europa League final year.
He came in after the worst season we ever had, and guess who the guys running it are?
Same idiots.
Richard Arnold, he's got everything hands behind his back. These guys are complete morons. He comes in somehow, like assembles a crew, and then gets them playing. It has to deal with Ronaldo, like literally in January. Ronaldo's like
that Piers Morgan interview. That also happened this year. It's been a hell of a year.
Now he's got to deal with Mason Greenwood. And the thing, if he can deal with all this and get us playing well every game and have us competing for trophies, while like we don't have a squad, like we don't at all. Like look who's playing. We have a guy who we just signed in January who's like a nobody. Like
played every game. He's played every game.
He's the only guy who can play. Like get me in there, coach. Like get me in there.
He's played every game, bro. Like every minute.
And it's like the fact that Ten Hag is able to keep it together and keep this team going is incredible. Like you have to really look at it. And like I don't want to give him too much credit, but man, he has been dealing with. And the sale of the club. It's just crazy. And the fact that we're winning game after game is unbelievable. And that's why I'm worried about this Greenwood decision, because I don't want anything to mess with the good vibes right now. I do not want that. I think if they try to bring in, you know, take a risk on the culture, or like try to deal with this like big thing, I just really think things are good, and they just got to keep it that way. They got to keep the door shut.
Dude, amen. Couldn't agree more, sir.
Look, that is it. That is the podcast. You like the America Red Devils. We are for fans, by fans. Please support the pod. Check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/America Red Devils. Website, americareddevils.com. Store, americareddevils.store. Pick up some merch. Like I said, 65th anniversary Munich air disaster scarf. The commemorating We'll Never Die on the back. We have the hoodies, Lasers Out scarves as well. Anything you buy supports the pod. Please check us out. Sir, you get our top 10 downloads last 7 days.
You know it. Number one, how you doing? Los Angeles, California, New York, London, England, Chicago, Illinois, Denver, Colorado, San Francisco, California, Dallas, Texas, Melbourne, Australia, Washington, D.C., and last but not least, Sydney, Australia. Appreciate all the America Devils listening week in, week out. We couldn't do it without you, sir. The feels are back at Old Trafford. Sorry about that. And United is on the up. A lot of things to be excited about. We got the real deal manager. A lot of games coming thick. We got Barca Europa League tie, sir. They're top of La Liga.
It's Europa League. Yeah.
Europa League. Yeah. I know.
Brings you back to Manchester United.
Brings you back to 09 and 11, getting beat up by Barca back in the day.
Yeah, sir. It's like Europa Leagues. Nobody counts the Europa Leagues, I'll tell you.
That's true. That is true, sir.
All right. So what song you got for us?
Every single one of us loves Alex Ferguson. Enjoy your week, and we'll talk to you all soon.